So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude in a Couch. Today, I'm joined by Steve from King Buffalo, and we're here because, first of all, we're going to talk about the upcoming album that's coming out next week. And I called you Steve. Your name is Sean. I don't know why I thought of Steve. Uh, and he says it right there. I don't know. Sean Mcvay from King Buffalo. So I really got into this band last year. First of all, Sean, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Yeah.
Good. So you last in the pandemic, you did a trilogy of records. First starting with the first one, which was The Burden of Restlessness, which I enjoyed a lot. Then you had Ecaron. I don't have that one physically. And now finally you're finishing with Generator. And I gotta say, this is the one of the first times that I get a pre-order actually 2 weeks in advance. So yeah, that was very sweet. When I got it, I'm like, great, that's awesome that I got it before. And I love this artwork by Nico del Rosario. Like in this artwork, what are you is there like a theme to this artwork? Did you convey something, or did the artist came up with the idea when he listened to the album?
It was actually so we something fell through with a different artist we were going to use. They just weren't going to be able to get it done in time, but they told us very late, so we had to scramble to find some art. And so we scoured the internet, and then we stumbled across his work, and that was actually something he had previously done that wasn't being used for anything. And so we liked that art, and we thought it fit the album perfectly, so we reached out and contacted him about using his artwork for the album, and everything.
Yeah,
very happy with it.
no, it's very cool. It's very interstellar, like and it fits with the music of the album very well. Like I love the album artwork for all your albums. I think they're an extension of the band. So I know you guys recently were touring Europe. How was that experience over there?
It was fantastic. It was our first time back in Europe since 2019. So it was something we were really anxious to do, to get back over there and perform, and it was fantastic. It was very busy, a lot of logistically it was very difficult, but the shows were amazing. The festivals that we got to play were amazing. So very, very happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, and what I was looking at picture of the concert, and there's one that you did like in the mountains. That one like really I have the picture here. Where was this exactly?
I don't know the name of I don't know the name of the town very well, and if I tried to pronounce it, I'd probably butcher it because my Swiss is
Yeah.
although I do believe that part of Switzerland was they spoke French, but even still, my French is bad. So it was in the Alps, in a part of Switzerland where they speak French, and it was very high up in elevation. I believe it was around 7,000 feet in elevation, and it was, we had to get up there. We had to take all these switchbacks. It took about an hour or so just to get from the base of the mountain to the top where we ultimately performed. And it was a really narrow, sort of kind of a bit of a treacherous drive, but everything worked out perfectly. And obviously, as you can see by the picture, it was incredibly beautiful and really cool place to be.
No, it looks awesome. Like had any band played there, or was this like the first?
Oh yeah, it was a festival. It was called Pelp Festival, and they've been doing it for a few years. I don't know how many exactly off the top of my head, but they've been doing it for a while. And they've had bands in that spot before. So yeah.
Yeah. So I know your band hails from Rochester, New York. So I've been to Rochester, New York. So you're one of the best things to come out of Rochester, New York. So when you were working, when did you start working on this trilogy of records? Did you start all in 2020 that you had so much time and so much material that you decided to divide it in 3 records?
Yeah, pretty much. So, in 2020, when the pandemic hit and kind of shut everything down, we had a bunch of tours planned for 2020, and obviously that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, so we initially were kind of scrambling, trying to figure out like what we were going to do to kill that time. So we at first did those videos that are out on YouTube that some people have seen, called the quarantine sessions, I think is what we call them.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of those.
And so we did that, and then um, it was still, the COVID numbers were still pretty low in Rochester at the time. And so we decided, we put up some plastic sheets around the drum set, and we were in opposite corners of the room, and we had masks on, and we're like, well, let's just jam and like see what happens. And we did that for a couple weeks. Um, and we record all of our jams, and I got them home, and finally I started to like look through them, and we had like 20 hours worth of jams that were to start listening through and start figuring out like what, how much of this is usable, because 20 hours of jams, there's probably only a couple hours of anything that's good. So there's a lot of just like noodling and sort of not great stuff. So I basically was like, guys, like I have too much to listen through and start sorting through here. Like we can't keep jamming, because otherwise we're just never gonna, there's gonna be too much. And as I started to cut things up, started to feel like we had around 3 or 4 hours worth of material that we were kind of digging, that we thought we could do something with. And we're like, well, what are we going to do with this? We started kind of grouping things into what we thought would be uh sort of unique and cohesive records. And so uh we ended up settling on doing three, because we had what we thought was enough material for three distinct records, which was Bird and Acheron, and of course Regenerator. And so yeah, all of the instrumental arrangements were pretty much written over the span of like a month or so in 2020, and the lyrics started to come after, and the lyrics were finalized as we were recording each record.
Yeah, so first you had all the jams, and then you came out with lyrics. So any of those other unused hours, would you go back to some of them and maybe flush out more music in the future?
It's possible. It kind of depends on how we're feeling. I think like a lot of them, I mean, there's a reason why they didn't end up going anywhere. There's some stuff for sure that's in there that we're like, oh, that was cool. We could still do something with it. But I find for me, it's kind of hard to go back after so much time has passed.
Yeah.
You need to wait a really long time and totally come back super, super fresh. Um, Otherwise, I think you kind of just got to leave it, because I feel like if you're trying to recreate something from a year and a half to 2 years ago, um, it can be kind of difficult. Like so much changes in that time, whether it's, little changes to your playing style, your guitar tones, pedal board switches, all these little things start to change, and they start to add up to quite a big difference. And now you're trying to chase something that you did a while back, and that I don't think is ever any fun when you're trying to chase like a feeling and a sound from so far back, instead of just at that point, let's just create something new with the tools we have now. I think that tends to be a little less of an arduous experience. So it's possible. I guess I'll say it's possible we go back to it, but it really depends on how we're feeling, how we feel about that material, and if we're feeling creative enough to move on to something brand new at that time.
Nice. So in this tour, are you focusing on those three albums, on The Burden, Acheron, and Regenerator for this tour? That I know that you're have an upcoming tour in September. You're going to be touring North America. You
Yeah,
already did Europe, and that's the North America.
yeah,
Is most of that centered around the free trilogy albums?
yeah. Kind of. I mean, so when we just the European tour we just did, it was definitely heavily focused on Burden and Acheron and Dead Star as well, because we had released
Yeah, in 2019.
we released Dead Star, and so we had 3 albums that we had released since we were over in Europe, so we had to try to cover those bases. And then we try to throw in at least a song or two from previous records as well. um so yeah, We switch up the set list quite a bit. So coming up in September, I'm sure we're going to definitely be playing some Regenerator, but then we'll definitely be playing Acheron and Burden and Dead Star and Longing to Be the Mountain, and bunch of from the back catalog as well.
Yeah, right now of the trilogy albums, I love Burden, but I think Regenerator is becoming my favorite as I listen more to it. They're all good, but yeah, I think Regenerator. I really love the flow of the album from beginning to end. I think the single Hours and Mammoth really represent well what the album sounds like. When you try to get like singles for this type of material, like how do you go about it, picking a single? Because it's kind of hard with psychedelic type of rock, like the single that like can translate better, to get new people into the band.
Yeah. It kind of ends up usually being pretty like obvious as the record's finishing up what's going to be the single. Part of it honestly comes down to how long is the song.
Yeah.
Like if we're going to try to do like a music, so we just did a music video for Mammoth that was released recently. If we're gonna
I saw it. It's pretty cool. And I saw that like the making that you had the green suits on and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty fun and goofy. But when you're trying to make a music video, it can be difficult, making a 10, 12, 13-minute music video gets very expensive, and it's just also difficult, because you have to, all of a sudden the planning gets really grand, and it gets pretty wild. So you tend to lean towards shorter songs, for obvious reasons. If you're releasing a single, the goal is to have it stumble across someone's face who maybe hasn't listened to you before, and you want them to be excited about it. You don't want to introduce them right away to a 15-minute epic jam and then expect them to make it through the whole thing. People,
Yeah.
have things to do. A lot of times people are listening to it on their phone while they're, on their coffee break or their cigarette break from work, or, on the
Or
toilet,
driving.
or whatever, like they have things to do. So you got to kind of
Yeah.
wrap it up.
Yeah, sometimes it makes you think, how in the hell does Dream Theater promote a song? Because they're all so long.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard, but yeah, no, I think those songs, I love the longer songs. And something that I really like about your band is like there's a lot of like 70s prog psychedelic like jam type of like a song that you hit a note and it keeps going, and it's really spacey, and I really like that because I think not so many bands play that style anymore. So it's kind of retro but with a modern sound, at least to my ear. So that's something that I really dig about King Buffalo's sound. So you're touring this tour. I'm gonna show the dates here for people that can. The tour starts like in September, and I see that you're playing mostly East Coast, and no, you have some shows in the West Coast, in California, San Francisco. Is this a tour of only you guys, or is there another band going with you guys?
There's a number of different bands going with us. We don't have one band that's going on tour the whole time. But we'll do like a handful of dates with a certain band here and a handful of dates with a certain band there. I am terrible with details and remembering things, so I can only remember a couple off the top of my head right now. I know we're doing some with
that happens to me too. As you can see, sometimes I mix up names.
Yeah. So I
at least I said it was with an S too, but yeah, that happens. I'm good with faces, but sometimes I mix up names.
When you called it immediately, so
yeah, but I did an interview with a European band and I mixed the country.
Oh wow.
And he was like, I'm not from that country. I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
but yeah, we're human. But
story, if we got time for a funny story kind of related to mixing.
Yes, we got time.
Okay, so years back we were playing a show somewhere. I can't remember, of course I can't remember where, and the show was with us, and then there was a local band that opened up the show, and we get out there, we're performing, play the set, and then like I needed a tune, so I'm like, oh, hi everyone, we're King Buffalo, blah blah blah. I want to give a huge thanks to blank, for kicking off the show. And as soon as I said that, the whole crowd goes silent, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, that was weird. That was really weird. I don't know. Maybe they didn't like that band or something. Okay, so I just kind of left it, and then we keep going to the set. Later in the set, I say it again. I go, hey, like, I want to say one more time, big shout out to blank band. Because I thought, oh, who knows, maybe they didn't understand me. Maybe I spoke too fast. Maybe I mumbled. It's
Yeah.
it can be hard to understand people through the mic during a rock show sometimes. So I say it again. Same thing happens. Goes dead silent. And I'm like, wow. Okay. So then I finally
Tough crowd.
asked. I go, what is with you guys? Like, I thought they were good. Like, what? Why? Like, did you guys really not like them or something? And they're like, that's not the name of the band. I was just saying words. It was not the name of the band. And I was like, God, I feel like such an asshole. It was so embarrassing. It ended up being really funny. And,
Yeah, it can happen.
but it was still like, it was what's that Spinal Tap moment.
Yeah, that's Final Tap moment. It can happen to everyone, especially like sometimes like those band that have like those weird the logos that you can't understand what it says.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm trying. I did an interview. I'm like, what is like if you can understand the name, which I never understood why you would have a logo that you can't pronounce it because you can't read it. Like, doesn't make sense to me. If you want a logo, like I want this type of logo. Yeah, I can read the name clearly of the band. Kimbo, what was the inspiration of the name? I know you're from Rochester, New York, but there's Buffalo, New York. Does it have to do something with the location, or just a random thing that popped into your mind?
That we do not have a good story for like our band name. It was just so we formed pretty quickly, and we needed a name. So we wrote like 40 names on a big whiteboard, and we each took turns crossing off names until we got to like the last couple. And
What was the runner-up name?
it's funny enough. So this is actually the only thing that's funny. The runner-up was Martha Dump Truck, because everyone thought someone else would cross it off. It was like a little bit of like a game of chicken. We're like, I'm not wasting one of my vetoes on Martha Dump Truck because someone else is going to cross off Martha Dump Truck. And no one did. So it made it into the final vote. Like, this is like a very real possibility. We're going to be called Martha Dump Truck. And, honestly, it just King Buffalo was the name that we all like hated the least. It was the least amount of arguments.
It sounds better than Martha's Dump Truck,
Yeah, it does in hindsight. And obviously, yeah, it worked out, but we didn't really think it through too well because it was pretty shortly after that where we started getting like, you're not even from Buffalo. And it was like, no, we're like,
yeah, but King Rochester just doesn't have a ring to it.
Well, and Nathaniel Rochester was a bad guy. We don't want to be named after that guy. So
yeah.
So
so yeah, no, I think it's a funny story, and that story about playing a concert, and like it can happen to everyone. Everyone can make mistakes, but yeah, the fact that it's funny that everyone was like quiet and offended, like that's the wrong band. That's hilarious.
They were just confused, and then finally, when I called them on it, they were like, "You're the one. You're the one screwing up."
Maybe they were thinking, was there like another opening band that we missed?
Yeah. I think they were just very confused. And it was me that was the asshole and confused.
Yeah. So you all self-produce these free releases, which it's very impressive in itself. Like what about like self-releasing and doing that? What was the hardest thing for you as a band doing this?
Well, we've always been pretty much like fully DIY. We have a booking agent, we have people that we work with, but for the most part, we've always produced and recorded ourselves and released everything ourselves. So that wasn't anything new for us. What was difficult was the time crunch we put on ourselves. That was the most difficult. And then the realization that we weren't going to be able to release them all within the year. And then that was also difficult, just to figure out, like, it was embarrassing. It was not, like a good feeling. And luckily everyone was extremely like understanding and
Yeah.
supportive, but it's still like, you don't want to be that band that's like, hey, we're gonna do this thing, and then like, oh no, we're not gonna do this thing. It's just
Dude, you released like 4 albums in like amount of 4 years. There's band that release 4 albums like like it can take years for them to release an album. So yeah, and a pretty impressive thing. So I was wondering, the 3 albums you wrote them all at the same time. Does every album follow like a theme or a story or not?
For Burden, Ekron, and Regenerator, yes.
Yeah, for those 3, yeah.
Yeah, there is a bit of like a story that kind of weaves through them, and kind of revolving around the same sort of protagonist type character. But they're kind of like different chapters, and I don't know if they really need to be. I don't necessarily think of it fully as a story. It's almost like, if that makes sense, like, I don't think it needs to be like sequential,
Mhm.
too sequential, because it's pretty loose, and um there is a story there, but it's not necessarily so specific that if you didn't listen to Burden, you have no idea what's happening in Regenerate.
Yeah, not like a Coheed and Cambria thing that like you have to like listen to the comic uh to understand it. I'm like, that's too much. I just listen to the songs. If you ask me what the whole story there is about, I have no idea. I know bits and pieces, but there's people that really get into that, nitpick like the story. I like to listen to the music. I can read, but like I can't interpret the whole story. But yeah, I think they're all very spacey type of records, and would recommend this band for people who like 70s prog rock, prog metal, psychedelic music, because it's all there. And I like the way you sing because I can understand you. Because there's just so much growling sometimes that sometimes it's good, but not the whole time. And I like the way that you sing because it's really like spacey, psychedelic, and like you can get really into it. And obviously, if people smoke pot, I think these records will go great to smoke the pot with. So no, yeah, really great stuff. So what's next for the band?
Touring. As you
Besides,
showed, it's going to be a pretty busy fall for us, which is good. It's, with the amount of time that we took off, obviously needed to take off with
yeah,
COVID. It's good to get back out there and get back on the road. So that's priority number one right now. We don't have any like solid plans to go back into writing right away. I know.
yeah, you just put out 3 albums like in less than a year.
Yeah,
Like,
so it's gonna be touring for a while here, and maybe we will go back and revisit some of the stuff that didn't make it to the record, and maybe we'll see if we can make something out of it or not. Like I said, right now, the big focus is touring.
yeah. So that when you go on tour, like what are your essential items that you need on tour to make life less of a living hell while on tour?
Ah, like personal items, or like for gear, like for the band.
Personal items.
Personal items. Okay. Um, Well, it's kind of, I actually just kind of started getting things to like do this to like me. I'd usually bring a book, and that was fine. But it was kind of tough, when it's late at night and I don't want to have a light on, to keep the rest of the band up or whatever. So having a traditional analog book um, was getting to be a little bit like, I found like the times that I had to read was late at night. So I actually just got an e-reader before our last European tour, which was great. And so I have that like synced up with my library card, so I can like rent books from the library and I can read them on my e-reader. It's fantastic. So yeah, that's the main one. And I just got a a Nintendo Switch. So like I'm back to being like a teenager and playing video games now. Like
Oh yeah, that looks fun. That looks very much fun than the Game Boy. So what books are you reading right now?
I was reading a book called The White Plague by Frank Herbert. It's the same guy who wrote Dune and all that.
Yeah, I'm like, I know that name.
And right now I am reading Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson, and it's very cool. I recommend it.
So you like a lot of like sci-fi reading?
For novels, yeah. I do also like, I'm kind of a political junkie, so I do like reading like history and politics stuff. But for like novels, and currently I'm in a bit of a novel kick. So novels, yeah, I tend to probably lean towards science fiction.
Yeah, I love science fiction too. There's a few ones that I've read over the years. There's one, I think it's called Six Wakes or something, and it's about space. It's like about a crewing spaceship that they've been cloned, and they wake up and one of the clones murdered the whole crew. So you gotta like figure out who did it. So it's like a clone with a space. And there was another one that is something about the Bobby Bears. So it's about a guy that dies and his mind is put into an AI, and it's called the Bobby Bears because there's like this, it's like a free book, and it's kind of funny too. And in the book, like there's like a war in Earth, and in that book, like Brazil rules the Earth. It's really weird, but like a lot of like sci-fi stuff. So yeah, you should probably dig into those, because if you like that sci-fi novels, which I dig as well, I think they're good. Plus, they can be inspiration for future King Buffalo albums.
Sure.
Yeah, like you never know. Like you could write like a album inspired on an album. That would be, I think that for the type of music that you guys play, that would be interesting. So before I let you go, like, I like to ask people like questions. I did a video called Top Desert Island Records, which I asked people like what would be their top 3 albums that you would take to a desert island if you have a player or something to listen to music. Which like 3 albums you would need to have on that island, and why?
That's actually a very difficult question.
Yeah, I know.
It's easy to say. You usually get that question with like bands or artists, right? What 3 artists or 3 bands? And that makes it easier because then you can pick like someone who has a really big catalog.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll have like 20 records. So if I can listen to Pink Floyd because they have so many records, or I can listen to Neil Young because he has, every genre he covers it, and I can never be bored for the rest of my eternity on this desert island. But albums makes it more specific. I think my favorite album of all time is Dark Side of the Moon. So
awesome album.
Yeah, and it's just, it's perfect. It's, which it's not everyone's favorite, but it is like, it is the best.
In my opinion, I think it's their best album. And I just got to see Roger Waters this week play, and like what an amazing show. Like,
yeah, I am kicking myself. Unfortunately, when he was around our hometown, I was on tour. I was unable to go. Or it would be like the night before I leave for tour. It's like I just can't do it. But it's a dream that I would love to see Roger Waters. But.
Oh yeah, no, I did a concert review, and I put some clips, and he played most of it's 23 songs, like most of half the songs are Pink Floyd, and he plays a few of his solo songs, which I've heard a little bit, but I think everyone was there for Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Songs, but
I like his newest record. What is it? Is This the Life We Really Want? I think is the name of it. Or
yeah,
single off it. It's a great record. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously famous from Pink Floyd.
And in King Buffalo, I could hear a lot of like Pink Floyd influence, like to the style. But there's I can definitely hear that you love that band.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hide that at all.
Yeah.
I'm a kid who grew up like it's my favorite band of all time. But yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah. So besides Dark Side of the Moon, which other two would you take?
Man, so I would maybe say, because it's hard, because I'm trying to think of like albums that I hold in really high regard, but would I want to listen to them every day forever? I might say the one album that's coming to mind is Battle of Los Angeles by Rage Against the Machine.
That's a great one as well.
Yeah. And what's the third one? Something a little bit different.
You could take your own album.
No, I could never say that.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I would no. This is the third one's gonna kill me. I don't know. I guess we'll say Rubber Soul.
Oh yeah, you know, it's not. People think, oh, it's easy. No, it's not that easy.
No,
like,
making it an album and not an artist makes it really hard.
Yeah, it would be easier if I said artist, but yeah, no, I agree. So everyone, are there still copies of this generator to pre-order, or are they all sold out?
I guess I don't know. I would assume we have copies. I don't know if we're still.
I got number 437.
Of the yeah, so
yeah,
might not be all of the versions available. Like there's a deluxe version and all this, the standard version, et cetera, et cetera. So all of the versions might not be available, but I do believe that there are still, I think, the standard versions available. I don't want to say for sure. If you have a moment and you feel like you want to buy one, go to our website,
go
and.com and they Stickman Records and check, and they'll tell you for sure, because I don't want to say they definitely have them and then people get mad.
Yeah, then you'll go on your next concert and you'll get shouted out, "You asshole, you said there were more copies."
Can't remember opening bands' names, can't remember how many copies of your records you have.
Will happen, and I mix up names with an S.
Folks, every day is a struggle. I don't know how I get through it, but
yeah, I know, I agree. But everyone, this album comes out next week, September 2. It comes out, and I've already heard it for 2 weeks, and I can tell you that it's very worth it. I think it's becoming one of my favorites albums of the year. I'm gonna review it for the channel as well, because yeah, I got it so early, so I can do a proper review and obviously show the vinyl. So everyone, King Buffalo's going on tour in September. You go catch them. You can buy Regenerator or stream it wherever you like, and obviously there's other albums of the band that you can listen to. And if you like psychedelic prog rock, give these shy guys a chance, because it's a very promising newer band, and we need newer bands to take the place of the older bands that are retiring. There's more new music out there, so you just gotta go out and discover it. So again, Sean, not Steve. We don't know who Steve is. Sean, I want to thank you, for taking some time of your busy schedule, to talk with me and talk a little bit more about the album. So again, thank you. So everyone, go get Regenerator next week. And until next time, this is Hector, the Shield doing a couch, and I'll see you right here on the couch. Thank you and good night.